Athlete builder back at it. Just Jim Beebe today. This one's going to be kind of a wild ride. It's real time and it's unusual. So let's talk about what we're doing and why and how this all is going to unfold. I'm pretty excited about it, a little nervous about it, and it's going to be really, really applicable. So today's May 29th, real time. This episode is supposed to launch on a Monday, a few Mondays down the road. Here's what we do here. This is real. So we always like to have a couple episodes in the bank. We record every Monday night, and then the following Monday we post the next week's episode. We usually have two or three in reserve in case something happens. We're never stuck. Well, what's cool and not cool, what's cool is that one of our future guests, this awesome dude, he's got a little problem in that he's in the Western Conference Finals in basketball. So he's at the highest level of his sport. And consequently, since they keep winning, we have to reschedule a little bit. Totally makes sense, right? Also supposed to record on Monday. Something happened and things got pushed back. So there's life that happens. There's cool things that happens. Long story short, our next Monday, which is I think the second, June 2nd, we don't have one currently. And over 80 episodes in a row, we've delivered every Monday. There hasn't been a Monday where we didn't have one. And what's that like? That creates some pressure. I like the streak going. I like the fact that we can be reliable. We talk about that with our athletes consistently checking boxes and hitting the marks. So, what happens? You feel a little bit more pressure. Add in the fact that June 7th is our Athlete Builder Summit. We've been rounding people up for that. Things are coming along. Things are always ups and downs there. And then we add in sports performance, which is changing because next week we add morning classes. And there's always things in influx. People are on vacation. People's jobs are changing. There's all this going on, and it's all happening at once. And we still need an episode. And I was talking to Jen. She's like, "Man, that's a lot of pressure." Add in the fact that I'm adding all this volume. If you know or don't know, I've been doing this preparation for this New York City SEAL swim. So the volume there is increasing. We did Murph last Saturday. This most recent Monday, I swam 4,000, or actually it was on Tuesday this week. I swam 4,000 meters, which took me just under 100 minutes. So there's a lot going on. Some would say too much, some would say just right, some would say not enough, but there's a lot going on, at least for my standard. And when Jen, my wife, asks me or says, that feels like a lot of pressure, I was thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling pressure. And pressure typically does not feel great. There's usually some kind of anxiety or bad feeling in your gut. For me, it's a little cold in my chest. That's where we're at real time. And I'm determined that we're going to still check all the boxes and move forward because that's what we do. But in thinking about it, it's been a huge gift because one of the things I typically say is that pressure is a gift. So check this out right here, right? If you're looking at home or watching on YouTube, you can just see what I put. If you're not, I'm holding up the book, The Power of Pressure: Why Pressure Isn't the Problem, It's the Solution. It's by Dane Jensen. And I reference that book and a ton of others, about 150, in my own book, the Athlete Builder book, The Blueprint to Build Champion Athletes. And you see the books behind me. There's a lot. And I'm thinking about, yeah, there's pressure. And I've been wanting to do some more book summaries and analyses to break down how I use this and how others can use it and apply it in life, but in sports, in athletics. We did one episode 8 with Atomic Habits, one of our favorite books to dissect. But given that I'm feeling pressure personally, it required me to go through my notes, through the book, what I had written down about processes, because that's what it comes down to. And I'm like, I need to revisit this. And I thought, you know what's cool? Maybe this is God just leading me along. I've been wanting to dissect another book. Now I have an opportunity. Change equals opportunity. So now we're going to dissect The Power of Pressure by Dane Jensen. There's only about a dozen chapters. We're going to go through the highlights. And all along the way, I'm going to point out how I'm applying this myself, how this applies to me. What you need to do is listen, potentially buy and read the book. Shout out Dane Jensen. But ask yourself the same questions. Pause it and write down the questions and see how do you respond. That's the idea. Learn a process. This is how you get better. This is the essentially what we do here. We look for a challenge and we come up with a solution, we implement it, and then we move forward and then we win, whatever winning looks like. So, right out of chapter one in the book, there's an equation. I always say pressure is a gift, but there's an equation which Jensen talks about. Pressure equals importance times uncertainty times volume. Pressure equals importance times uncertainty times volume. That's the game we got to play. You must play the game to impact the outcome. Importance. So talk about that. It's not really the task that people are worried about. It's the end result. I have this New York City SEAL swim. What is that? August 16th. We show up. Me and a bunch of SEALs and special forces and some regular dudes like me. We're all referred to as patriots. We're in New Jersey. We run a mile. It's pretty simple for that first mile. You're carrying a flag. It's a parade almost. You see people parachuting. It's pretty cool, but then you rest. Once you finish that first mile, you're at this bridge. You pop on your fins. You jump in the Hudson River, and you swim towards this barge, which is floating and anchored right by the Statue of Liberty. It's a little bit under a mile swim. You get there. You climb up the ladders. You're on the barge. Everyone's there. There's about 400 of us plus helpers, and you do 100 push-ups and 22 pull-ups. 100 push-ups just because it's kind of hard. 22 because statistically daily 22 veterans commit suicide from PTSD and trauma. And from there you get back into water, swim another mile to Ellis Island where immigration started way back when. You get out of the water, you climb up the ladders, you're on a second barge, another 100 push-ups, 22 pull-ups. You hang out there, rest, recover, hydrate. Back in the water, start swimming again. We make it all the way to Manhattan Island, which is about a mile and a half. And from there, clean up, dry off, put your shoes back on. Another 1 mile run to the World Trade Center, 100 push-ups, 22 pull-ups, and then you're done. All the speeches occur there. You're at the World Trade Center with your flags. Everyone's walking around, and it's an awesome time. We're raising money. Last year, we raised over $700,000 for the Naval Special Warfare Foundation. So that's the event, right? So when I talk about pressure equals the importance times uncertainty times volume, the importance, you're thinking about the event, right? You're thinking about the event of a heavy back squat or a basketball game you're about to play. I'm not sitting there thinking about my kicking or my stroke when I'm in the water. If I just think about that, stroke, kick, breathe, well, that's not really that scary. But that's part of the deal, right? The importance, the uncertainty is the natural response is to flee. And if we can't flee, then pressure increases. We must learn how to address that. The uncertainty is we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how the basketball game is going to go. We don't know how the final exam is going to go. And the volume, how much is going on? I just listed 4 different things that are going on. So globally in my life, volume's pretty high on stress. But on the day of, or as I get closer to that swim, I feel more internal stress. Why? Why I have less time to prepare? It's getting more real. Right now, I'm about a little bit over 80 days out. So as I'm getting closer, I'm like, shoot, this is getting to be real soon. I don't have 10 months to prepare where I can feel comfortable about it. So that's where the volume comes in. And what happens is when you're under the stress, the performance, it impairs your performance, obviously. It drains your energy, emotions get kicked in there, and you don't feel so good. So what's the point of the book? What's the point of this whole episode? How are we going to identify these things? How do you deal with it? How do you handle it? How do you get better? And the better you handle these moments, your performance goes up. That's now your new level. You level up. That's your new standard. You operate at that level. And if you're like me, you look for the next one. I like what he did here in chapter 2, blood, sweat, and breathe. Here's a little nerd stuff, all right? We're not gonna get that nerdy on this today, but here's a little nerd thing. So gotta learn something here. Sympathetic system and the parasympathetic system. You may have heard this, you may not have. Some of the smart people like to throw it around. You don't really need to know these words, but we're gonna teach you anyway. So sympathetic system. This revs the body up. It's adding gas on how you feel with your stress. It revs things up, right? You're getting more and more emotional. This is your natural response in your nervous system. If you're worried about final exams, you're getting into it, you're getting close, you get more and more nervous, right? You got a big meeting come up with the boss, you got the big game coming up. I had the big swim coming up. my nervous system recognizes that it's revving up. As you get closer to game day, it revs up even higher. The parasympathetic system is what pulls you back and calms you down and gets you back to neutral. When that pendulum swings really far to the sympathetic system, the parasympathetic system pulls you back to neutral so you can recover. If you're anything like me, after I finish final exams, what I tell people is I just go back and sit in my room at the fraternity and I just sit in the couch and I just stare at the wall. I've been going nonstop, learn, or relearn, or practice, then you go spit out all the information. You're so wrecked, I would just go back and sit on the couch. What's that like in real life? When I first started the gym, I had these investors or these lenders, and I had to borrow at an ungodly interest rate, but it's what I could afford and what I could get. So I did that, and every quarter I had to make this huge interest payment, and I was always sweating it. And I made every one of them. But the next day, I didn't realize this, but once I mailed that check and I knew the money was there. The next day, or even that same afternoon, I literally felt taller. I felt taller walking back into the gym. I was so much more relaxed. My parasympathetic system is bringing me back. So that's the nerd piece, right? When you got to learn about what we're doing here today. Stress, what really this tells us or you or me is that what's about to happen next is important. If you listen to Diggs, last week's episode, he just says, let's just reframe stress. Let's call it, hey, I'm excited. But really, this tells you what's happening next is important. All right. So for this entire episode, if you want the Cliff Notes version, here's what it's going to boil down to. We get tunnel vision, so look around and hone in on the absolute priority. That's being one of the tools for handling stress. Long term, pull yourself out and take in more data. What does that mean? Well, when we had Jeff Saturday on, I asked him, how do you handle stress on big games? He goes, I just work so much more during the week that I didn't feel the stress on big games. That's right from Jeff Saturday, future Hall of Fame center for the Indianapolis Colts. So here in the book it says just pull yourself out and take in more data. That means work more, learn more so that you're better prepared. And then last piece, view it as a positive and as a challenge and a good thing. So you just simply reframe it. So you want to turn the whole thing off. And if you can execute those three things really, really well, you're probably good to go. If you want to keep going and get a little deeper and get a little bit better, just hang on. We'll get there. All right. So it talks about, and we're moving right along. Chapter 3, we talked about the equation. Let's talk about that. There's two components to it. Remember, there's importance times uncertainty times volume. There's the long haul. How do you handle the stress long term with your everyday life? And then there's peak moments, short term, today, next hour, in this game, the next play. We're going to break down long term first, and then we'll break down short term right there in the peak moments. Here's how you handle it. Here's what you do. Write these things down, apply it to yourself, adjust, get better. So, long haul, connect with why it matters. That's how you handle the importance piece. The uncertainty, how do you handle that? We're going to embrace the inevitable uncertainty. We're going to look for uncertainty. We're going to make up uncertainty so we can prepare for that. And then the volume. He simply wrote, consciously fuel and recover. How do you handle the stress? Keep doing what you're doing, eat right, and sleep. Okay? So let's talk about this. Long haul. Remember the equation, importance times uncertainty times volume. Long haul. Talking about importance. Why it matters. If you go through my book, there's a chapter called The 7 Levels of Why. Why does this matter? So if I break it down, why am I swimming in this thing? Number of reasons. One, I'm patriotic, want to help out the military. Two, it's cool. It is straight up, it's cool. You're swimming to the Statue of Liberty and you take a picture there, like while you're in the water, like someone's taking a picture or a video. It's cool. It's awesome. Three, in my mind, way back in the day after I graduated college, I thought I would like to contribute to the military, maybe special forces. You see a cool Navy SEAL movie. I'm like, oh man, that looks neat. Could I do that? Who knows? At 50? No. But now I'm actually doing a task alongside them. Feels neat, right? 4, this is real. I'm known as a strength athlete, and I have been for years, strongman powerlifting. I'm going to prove to myself, to so many others, that I can take someone at 50 years old, someone who hasn't been swimming since he was a kid, a strength athlete who was 319 pounds. I'm going to apply all the things about mindset, knowledge, teammates, nutrition, recovery, and training to make someone that can swim across this Hudson River and do it. I'm going to prove the philosophies work, right? For family and friends in faith, I'm going to show people, hey, I'm nothing special. I'm doing this. You can be a better version of yourself. Do it. My own kids, Jen's kids, my wife, the people at my gym. Hey, you guys are coming in. You guys want to be inspired. You guys want to get better. Trying to lead from the front. I'm going to do some things that are hard. I'm going to show people that hard things can happen. You just chip away at it, and this is how you do it. Right? So, right then and there, those are my 7 levels of why. When they talk about it here in the book, he also points out, and this is absolutely true, purpose is not an all encompassing thing that provides endless energy. Just because I have those whys and a whole bunch of others, I don't feel energetic every day to go get in the pool or go lift and do pull ups. Absolutely true. What's your process then when you don't feel like doing it? Hopefully your discipline kicks over and you still do it. Sometimes I'll put on a motivational tape, video, music. I'll talk to my wife. She'll come on, let's go, right? I'll revisit some things. I'll revisit my whys, my notes in my book. And then I'll watch a video like actually what's going to happen. And I'm like, holy shit, I could die in this river. I found just a little bit more motivation to go practice and prepare for some more. So for a long haul, you need multiple instances and reminders of your purpose and why, right? And there's core whys. There's the 7 levels of why that I walk you through. They walk you through a couple different things: growth, contribution, connection, etc. So for the growth piece, why are you doing these things? Remember, this is going to answer the component on importance. What's your North Star? How is this pressure helping me grow? Will enduring this pressure help others? Will this pressure bring me closer to those I care about? So the pressure of me swimming across this river and not dying, is it helping me grow? Yeah, I'm getting healthier. I'm getting leaner, better cardiovascular shape. Is it going to help others? Yes. My daughter has told me that watching me prepare for this inspires her to do something else physical. So now she's looking at rowing and trying out for Alabama's rowing team. Will this pressure bring me closer to those I care about? Just gave you that example. So there's a why right there for myself and outside of myself. What's my vision? So what will it look like in 6 months from now if I have risen to this challenge? Well, if I always say confidence comes from reps, and one of my reps is swimming across this stupid thing, dang, right? I'm there. Again, another reminder that the human spirit, with a good plan and some help, you can do a lot of things. And here you are at 50 years old, swimming across this stupid thing, right? So this connects you on some core whys and why you're doing these things. So then you make your daily decisions. What do I need to learn? What do I need to acquire? What do I need to accomplish? What needs to happen for me to make this happen, right? That's how we're handling the long-term importance. We go back, what's the next part of the equation? Uncertainty. So we had importance long-term, uncertainty long-term. Let's see what Jensen says about that. Embrace the inevitable uncertainty. Here's one of the things that always kind of annoys me with powerlifting competitions, strongman competitions, CrossFit competitions, Spartan races, whatever. People will say, they'll make a post up that says, hey, here's how I did, blah, blah, blah. If this, but that, if this, but that. The if in the but makes what you're doing a sport. If there were no if or but, then what you're doing is not a sport. It's just training. If I were rested, I could have squatted 500. I wasn't rested, so I squatted 450. Okay. If the ball were wet, I couldn't catch it as well. The ball's not wet, it's drier, I caught it better. Well, the ball's still wet, we're still playing the game. There's uncertainty, right? There's wind during the game. There's heat. If there were no pressure, I could have made the free throw. If I were sitting there shooting them by myself, I could make the free throw. But there was pressure. There is uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen, how you're going to feel. That's what makes it a sport. That's what we're looking to do. That's what makes it fun. If it were the exact same thing every time, well, why bother, right? So you have to embrace that uncertainty. You accept it. The future is unknown and unknowable, and that's what we want. And the other thing, you got to believe you're going to be fine. At the end of the day, you are enough. So there's some uncertainty. You prepare for it as best you can. You take your shot. Maybe you hit it out of the park, maybe you don't, but you took your shot. Remember the man in the arena? It matters that you are the one that's out there struggling and trying and doing the things. The whole thing, even if I don't even make it to game day on August 16th, I'm still way, way better. Like on Monday, I swam 4,000 meters. It's just under 100 minutes. Like I'm way better. Even if I do nothing between now and August 16th, I'm up to the point where I'm swimming almost 2 hours, right? So, anyways, the uncertainty is going to be there. Be thankful for that. Gives you a chance to grow then as well. All right, so there's two components, right? There's the uncertainty. We talked about importance. What's the third component? Who's playing along at home? Volume, volume. All he said here was this: long term. Like I started preparing for the swim 15 months in advance. Long term. I'm running my own business. Published a book. I have my podcast. I got 6 kids. I got to travel the country to see them. Running our gym. Long term. How do you handle pressure? Eat well and get a ton of sleep. That's it. Right. So you do all the things tactfully, not tactfully, tactically during the day to prepare. You're doing the work. Assuming you're doing the work, eat really well and get a bunch of sleep. Now, how obvious is that, and how much do we not do that? How much is our food processed, etc.? How many nights in a row do you get bad sleep, right? But long-term to handle stress, statistically, empirically, eat well and get a lot of sleep. All right, pretty easy. That I wasn't really that wowed by that piece, but sadly, it's still absolutely true. Short term, here's what people really want to learn about because they're worried about how do you get there in a moment. It's not that fun to understand and realize that it's a ton of work leading up to it. The more of a ton of work you do, the better. And that's really the big indicator that you're going to feel well on game day. So if you can do that, then everything else really falls into place. Here's an example about doing a ton of work. Mentioned my daughter. She's not going to like this part, especially if she listens to it, but it's true. She's taken an AP chemistry exam several years ago when she's in college, or high school, about 4 years ago. My daughter, she's bright, right? But it wasn't that she was just like, oh, she's born that way. No, she worked, right? She's smart, but she worked. And she's taking this chemistry exam this next day. It's the night before, and I'm hanging out with her. I go, hey, are you worried about this exam? I don't see you studying. She goes, oh, no, I'm good. Really? How do you know? Well, my teacher, Mr. Craig, he gave us a practice exam, and I did okay there. And he said, for anyone else that wants to prepare, here are the last 20 years of exams, and work through some of these questions, and you'll be familiar with it and how they word things, and then you should be prepared on game day. I go, okay, so how many did you do? She goes, oh, what do you mean? I did all 20. All 20. The opposite of me in college, right? She goes, I just did all 20 exams, so I knew I was prepared. I don't have to worry anymore. All the anxiety is gone. I couldn't manufacture anxiety if I wanted to, she said, because, and she walks into the exam and she smashes it because she totally over prepared. So the real answer, how to handle pressure, that's it. All right, let's say you haven't done it, or even if you did on game day, how do you handle the importance times uncertainty times volume? All right, so let's look at importance. We know why it's important. You have your whys, why the growth, your own personal whys, how it impacts others. If you want to bring down the anxiety on game day, what's the opposite? Why is this not important? Ask yourself, what is not at stake? This is for those peak moments. The brain is orienting itself to what's at stake. Ask yourself what's not at stake. And here's the key. Once you answer that, refocus. Refocus. So I signed up for this swim. What's not at stake? If I don't finish it, Jesus is still going to love me. My wife's still going to love me, and my kids are still going to love me. Everybody's going to be disappointed, but I'm still loved. I'm not going to be abandoned. I'm going to be just fine. Sun rises the next day. I will have gainful employment. I can still show up at the gym and coach people and get people better. I'm healthier, right? So it's not like I say, at least I have my health. Now I'm now actually healthier. and I'm still alive, right? What's not at stake? Well, your ego could be hurt, I guess, if I let it. But if I don't qualify, even though I busted my ass to do it and I don't qualify, but I still did all the things and I just got beat, sometimes you just get beat. So if it's, let's say I just raise the money because there's a $2,000 minimum. I raise $2,000. I don't get to go. All right. There's $2,000 that's going to these families where they've lost someone in the line of duty to help support them. The end result is whether I swim it or not, they're going to raise money and those families are going to be impacted. And if I didn't want to do it, I could raise money and give it to them and still make an impact. Life goes on next day. This is on the 16th. On the 17th, that Sunday, you get up, go to church. On Monday, you start your workday again. Boom. Life continues. So you ask yourself, what are your anchors? Is it your faith, family, close friends, health, life the next day? Like you should have answers to those things. Hold the important thing that will not change front and center in your mind. Okay? This is what he wrote. So this is right out of the book. Hold the important thing that will not change front and center in your mind. This is on game day, right? This is not going to change. I'm going to jump into the water. The water's going to be there. It's going to push me one way or the other with the current. Hold the important thing that will not change front and center in your mind. I'm going to jump in the water. The water will not change. Then step into the moment. You step off the bridge and plunge into the water. You step into the moment and then let it rip. You're there. I'm there. I prepared as best I could. Now you're in the moment. What other option do you have? You step into the moment and let it rip. That goes right into what is your next step? Take direct action, right? Importance times uncertainty times volume. Take direct action. This is in the moment. Uncertainty is at its peak. I'm going to jump in the water. What's going to happen? How cold is that going to feel? Breathe. Breathe. All right. What is my job? Find a target of what I'm swimming towards. Look for a target. Look for a reference point on the side I'm going to be breathing. I breathe on my left side mostly. Find reference point on my left. Look ahead where I want to go. That's my job. Take a look around you. Anyone near me? Have my target. My mantra, move forward. Move forward. Breathe, target, move forward. Stroke, stroke, kick, kick, breathe, essentially. Breathe, target, mantra, go. Right? You're a linebacker. You're on defense. The play has been called. You're believing it's a run play. You're going through all your checks. Who's in motion? Are the tight end in motion? Are the receivers in motion? Where's the back at? You think it's a run play. Your strong side, your weak side, you're in the middle, whatever. What are your checks? Find your target. What am I supposed to do in this next play? Breathe. Let her rip. It's a little more on a team sport like that. If I'm good enough, if I'm the linebacker, it's a little more involved. What's my job? What are the jobs of the people around me? The defensive line in front of me could be out of position. If I'm smart enough, I prepared long enough and hard enough, I can move the D end over if they're out of position or the D tackle. If the linebacker next to me is a little bit off, I could be calling out all the changes like Luke Kuechly would do. You're calling those things out, target, target. You're also signaling all the other targets for people around you so they are more focused. You see the point? You want to be focused and those around you focus. And for me, I'm more of an individual sport in this moment. But if you're in a team sport, get those around you ready. The ball is snapped. Let her rip. How do you take direct action? The Stoics, so Marcus Aurelius, focus relentlessly on your own desires. my own task, right? Focus relentlessly on your own desires, targets, and decisions, not the events unfolding. Focus on the targets and decisions, the events unfolding, the weather, the crowd, the noise, the score. All that is a distraction. Remember, jump in the water, target, head in, stroke, stroke, kick, kick, breathe, essentially. Focus on the task, not the events. The events add pressure. You want to take that out of the equation. Focus on the movement, what I'm supposed to do. I'm watching this movie on its in its tense, and every once in a while I'll revisit the old Alien movies. And then Jen was walking by, and so we're watching it, and it's an awesome film, and the aliens coming out, right? And you're nervous, and you see it, right? And you're like, oh man, you feel that little anxiety in your chest. For me, like that cold feeling in your chest. If I ever don't want to feel it, I look at the wall or a book on the shelf on the wall. You take yourself out of the movie. Mentally, I'm watching the movie. I'm in it. You don't want to feel that way anymore. Look at something else. Redirect your focus. If I'm about to jump in the water and swim, I'm nervous about this, this, and this. Well, I shouldn't be, because all I should be thinking about is jumping in, finding my target, head in the water, stroke, stroke, kick, kick, breathe. The linebacker play's about to be called. You have your targets. You're getting those around you, set up and ready to play. Let her rip. You control your breathing, your routines, your perspective, your attitude, and the target. I jump in that water, which it means I made it through qualifications. It means 15 months of work got me there. It means that if I get to the qualifier, everyone around me believes I should be okay. And I also know there's so many people there. In case I get in trouble, I should be okay. So what's my attitude in that moment? Pretty happy I made it. I've been terrified about this for months, and increasingly so. And at the first point when they mentioned it to me, I'm like, I went and watched it last year. I was not ready. There's no way. So on game day, I got people looking around thinking, yay, thanks. Thanks, everybody. Yay, me. Right? Thanks, God. So if I can control my breathing, my routines, my perspective, attitude, and target, I'm going to be fine. So you identify these peak moments, write it out, and create a routine. Here's what happens as a linebacker. The plays are called, what's my routine? Well, I don't know. I just kind of just go and play, right? That's what everyone does. Take a moment, listen to this, stop what you're doing. What should my routine be then? Write that down. Keep it in my notebook. Use the journal that we provide. Apply that in practice and on game days. Reassess. How did I feel? How did I do? Did it help my performance? All right, let's keep ingraining that. You want to clear your mind and build in some flexibility, right? So I understand that I'm going to jump in the water. There's going to be a current. I'm probably going to get kicked at some point. There's going to be something that happens, right? That's okay. Look for that. Oh, here's the kick in the face. I was expecting that. Cool. Oh, I got slapped in the face by water. I was expecting that. Cool. What's the easiest thing I could do right now to progress? That's how I'm taking direct action. What's the easiest thing I can do? I can lean forward with my face in the water. And at the easiest, every stroke is essentially, if you're doing like a shoulder roll, if I just do a quick shoulder roll and I think about my shoulder doing it, not even worry about lifting my arm, I can do a shoulder roll, put it in the water. If I cup my hands, I can pull more water and go faster. If I just let my fingers stay wide, I'll go slower, but I'm still going. And if I just kick, 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 kick those 4 times before I stroke again, I'm still going. I can kick twice and still go. If I just do the basic shoulder roll, hands not even cupped, barely kick, I'm not going to be sinking. They make us wear fins. It helps with your buoyancy. What's the easiest thing I can do in that moment? If I'm exhausted, I can do a shoulder roll and kick, right? So that's what you do. The last part, how do you handle the volume? This is important. This is very important. Simplify. The volume is in peak moments of pressure. You want to find your margin, improve your time management all day long, but your brain can only focus on one thing at a time. All right? Simplify. You got your school and your job. That's one thing. Your school or your job, right? You got your athletics, being physical. Then you got your social life. Pick two. Pick two. Simplify. What can I tilt one way or the other and prioritize? What can I throw away during game week? What can I throw away on game day? What can I throw away in the moment? What can I throw away and simplify and focus? What I'm doing right now, is this going to help me grow? Is it going to help or hurt my performance? What can I simplify? Alex Honnold, hope I said his name right. Free Solo is a show on Netflix. If you know what free solo means, it means you're climbing a rock. You're doing rock climbing and there's no rope. Let go equals death. So his next moment might be moving his right hand 2 inches to the left. 2 inches, which starts with maybe his left index finger moving 2 inches, and then his middle, then his ring, then his right, then his pinky. His next moment is move my hand 2 inches to the left. Get into a different handhold. And when he remarked about when he was done, he says, I was completely at peace. It's the gift that if I have a small, tiny little task, the tiniest of tasks to win, all I have to do is that tiniest of tasks. In addition, his preparation was absolutely relentless, where he had mapped out the entire path of climbing up El Capitan in Yosemite, 2/3 of a mile straight up. The whole documentary is about that. The point is to eliminate everything that's not necessary and focus on the task. Whether you're getting through SEAL training, people talk about that all the time in Hell Week, how your big goals in life are the meals. You get up, step number 1, get up on time. Step 2, make your bed. Step 3, get your clothes on, get in formation, be at your workout on time. 3 big wins. Get through your workout, get to your first goal, breakfast, right? Simple task. In the moment, the linebacker's job might simply be ball is snapped, ball's in the running back's hand, hit the hell out of the running back, right? What is my simplest task here? All the other distractions just create drag and slow you down mentally, which then slows you down physically, which burns up more energy and oxygen, and now you're getting beat. So how do you handle pressure? That's it. Last 2 things about this, and they have a nice little example at the end. It calls about, in chapter 10, the limits of independence, about being on the wrong team. How that wrong team, in quotes, makes it a pity party. Pick the right allies for the job. That's a tight, small group, he says, and he's right. The right allies to get this job done. Recruit from inside the arena. Well, I already know about a half dozen folks that have done the swim in the past. I recruit them. I ask them questions. I ask them about game day. I ask them about the whole experience. I ask them about their preparation. I recruit inside the arena. There's 6 people that I know, just 6. And then you guys set the terms. If you guys are training together, hey, if you're training together for this deal and you're on my swim team, you're my swim buddy, one of the terms has to be you show up on time at all the sessions, right? So if you're doing something hard, and hopefully you are every once in a while, pick your allies and set the terms. Pick the right people and then let it rip. Pressure, and then the last piece, pressure, tension, and preparation. Prepare, right? This quote is, I'm probably going to butcher this, ancient philosopher, Greek philosopher, Archilochus. We don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. Military groups say that. Sports teams say that. That's true, right? So again, it all comes back to the long-term deal, the over-preparation. That's how you handle pressure long-term and short-term. So what they do is awesome in the book. Jensen, he has this, there's a little graph, this little sheet right here, right? And you should get the book and says it. So what do you need to do? You take this little graph and there's 5 different columns. Column 1, connect with the importance. You ask yourself, what is at stake? So I just went through and answered all these questions really quickly as a quick example. So on game day, I can sit there and just pull the sheet out, go through it, calm myself down because I have a process here. I have my notes here because I prepared in advance. Connect with the importance. What's at stake? Well, death is at stake. But is it really? If I got through the qualifier, is death as at stake? No, not really, not as much. Also, there's so many people there to save my life. All right, okay. So death, no, I don't know. Is my ego at stake? Sure, if I let it. It could simply just be a swing and a miss. That's what's at stake. Why do these things matter to me? That's the next question under importance. You know what? Like I said, I'd be able to work out and compete with the SEAL community, um, leading my family and friends, people at my gym, the public proof that what I say and what we all do together works, doing it for my country, raise money. And you know what? It's just cool. So that's why it's important. This is what, hey, so on game day, hey man, this is just cool. This is why I'm doing it. Prepare for activation. Column 2. How is your body going to feel under pressure? Well, I usually feel jittery when I'm under pressure. What's that feel like? I get this cold feeling in my chest. What's that also feel like? I'm gonna have to run to the bathroom, so I'm probably feeling like I have to shit my pants, right? But you do that 3 or 4 times in the morning, you're good to go. Um, how will you manage the discomfort? Number 1, I'm gonna be thankful that I'm there. Be thankful that I have friends that are there doing it with me. My wife is there. Be thankful for the moment. I'm be proud, right? And then breathe. In through your nose, 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Out through your nose, out through your mouth for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Calm down. Next, build certainty. Because remember, we talked about uncertainty. Build certainty. What is your average? What can you count on? On average, I can go slow and steady. Do I need to red line and go really fast and beat people? No. I can go slow and steady. I know I can do that. So then he says, what is your serve? What can you directly control in the moment? Stroke, stroke, kick, kick, breathe. Right? I can just plod along. I know that we just did Murph last Saturday. I wanted a pain reference point. I felt like I kind of redlined early because it's totally different than swimming, the running, push-ups, pull-ups, and air squats. And I know at the end, when I was exhausted, I could still do a pull-up at a time, hop off the bar for 5 seconds, 3 seconds, do another pull-up, do another pull-up, and I still was able to crank out sets of 20. So when I'm crushed, I can still do that, get through those reps, and I can plod along. So, hey, at my worst, what can I count on to do that? Then I know I can do that. So that's the level of my training. That's what I will default to. At my worst, I know I can do that, and that's what I do. That creates some comfort. Hold importance in perspective. Column 4. What's not at stake, right? What won't change based on regardless of the outcome. Jesus is still going to love me. I'm still going to have work on Monday. Family and friends will still love me. I'm good to go. How is this helping me grow? The last piece on perspective. I'm going to be uncomfortable. I know confidence comes from reps. Getting in there and working my butt off at doing something that's very uncomfortable will leave me more and more confident that what I'm doing is right and true, and I can help others make an impact. The last column, build a plan. What 2 to 3 things will you say or do in the moment? Well, we kind of talked about that. Find my target. Where am I looking towards? What's my reference point? I'm going to smile because I'm grateful to be there, and I'm going to breathe. What's that last piece? Let it rip. Build my plan. Find my target, smile, breathe, let it rip. Let it rip. You're in the moment. You've done the work. Just let it rip. That's why this whole turn of events this week ended up being a gift and it being tough. I'm like, shoot, man, we're behind on our uh, episodes. we were caught up, and then a number of things happened. Now we're week to week, and we have nothing for Monday. Shoot, Summit's coming up. I got to be in St. Louis this weekend to help this other lady with her gym because they're running a combine for the U.S. bobsled team. Sports performance starts next week. Dang, I got all this swimming going on. Pressure. And I was comforted in the fact that, you know what, I outlined the whole book and use all the notes on pressure. Let's use this moment and get better. Let's use this moment and turn it around and execute and take our swing and move forward. Scheduled it out, booked it, hit record. Here we are. It's game day right now. Just let it rip and go. So hopefully you guys found this helpful. I get a lot of questions about pressure, usually face to face. That's why I wanted to put this out there as well. Keep sending in your emails. info@athlete-builder.com. Check us out. Hopefully you're getting the 2-minute drill newsletter. Be looking around. Keep sending us more messages. We want to help. We want to make an impact. So that's our message for the week. Have a good one. See ya.